Hey everyone, Greg Cazillo from Cazillo.com. It's 2013 and I wanted to start off this year with a fresh new series of videos, and they are going to be Keep Shooting Mondays. I have a lot of stuff planned that I want to do with this segment. I'm going to do my best to get them up each and every Monday. The first thing I'm going to be doing is going over your questions, whether you post them to the blog, whether you put them on Twitter, on Facebook, or especially the forum. If they're short, quick questions, I'll go over them in a video. As always, I'll do my best to reply to all of them on those other platforms as well. But I want to feature some of them, ones that say someone else might have that same question. I want to talk about a lot of those little ones. So I have a couple here, so let's get right into them. I understand the importance of a fast lens, but due to funding right now, it is impossible to get the same results with a kit lens or a lens such as a Canon 70-300 4 to 5.6. Thanks, Mike. What's wrong with there really isn't anything wrong with that particular lens or with a kit lens, as you say. The issue is the zoom. When you zoom in with that kind of a lens with a variable aperture, that's that 4 to 5.6 part, you lose a stop or maybe a stop and a third of light. So when you're shooting on a manual mode and you're not thinking about it, maybe you're a new photographer or you're shooting on aperture priority or shutter priority, you zoom in and you lose that light. And actually, in my opinion, camera manufacturers are doing a disservice to a new photographer by giving them these lenses. I think that people are much better off when they had like a 50mm lens as their first lens to shoot with all the time, because there's those little things, those little idiosyncrasies that are not happening. So as long as you're aware of what's going to happen when you zoom in, then you're fine. You're going to be able to create some awesome pictures with those lenses. But just understand that that's everything in photography. There's a caveat. There's an issue. There's something you're sacrificing one thing for another. That's photography in general. So just know that you're going to lose a stop and a half of light when you zoom in, and also any lens more than say 2.5 or 3 times zoom, you're going to have a not as good a quality with that 70-300 as you would with say a 70-210, something along those lines. Greg, I would like to know about your backup system. I just lost an external hard drive with 20,000 pics on it. How do you protect yourself? Multiple backups. That's the only thing that I can say. I'm actually testing out an online backup system right now. I don't know if I'm going to like it or not, but I still have 3 copies of all of my photos, all of my videos. In case one goes, I have 2 more copies that I can always go back to and I can use. And also one of those copies gets rotated off-site so that they're out of the studio. I take it home and then bring it back so that there's always that extra copy off-site in case something would happen, big power failure or flood or whatever it is. I'll still have that additional copy. Now, if that online backup system works out, I'll be doing a video on it soon, I'm sure. If it works out, great. Then you won't need to worry about taking that one off-site. And it might replace my third, but I don't think it will. I think it's still going to be, for me, 3 on-site backups and then 1 off-site, which would be that other backup system, which again, I'll talk about in the future when I'm ready to go. Question from Jimmy. Can't get tack sharp images no matter what I do. Can you advise on what is wrong here? This is the best of what I shot. 200mm, 2.8, 1/80th of a second. Thanks, man. Well, the first thing that I see here is that you might need to worry about your shutter speed. All right. 1/80th of a second, when you're shooting any kind of a concert or anything, the person is going to be continually moving. So the 2 parts of getting tack sharp images are, number 1, have a fast enough shutter speed. You're going to need to pump that shutter speed up at least to a 1/25th, probably a 200th of a second. All right. Number 2 is focus. All right. When you're shooting any kind of a concert like this, you're going to want a single point focus, probably continuous, because the person might be moving, especially when you're at f2.8 with a very shallow depth of field like that. So you got to have that focus point right on their face, moving up and down, get it in that right spot, and then they'll use that single point and kind of put it on their face. And as they move in and out, or walk around, whatever, maybe you move, maybe you change your angle, you're not going to have a problem there. When you're at 200mm at 80th of a second, you're going to introduce some camera shake. That's a problem. All right. You don't want that camera shake. So typically the rule of thumb is to keep your shutter speed above your zoom position. All right, 200th of a second, 250th above that zoom position, which will be, in this particular image, 200 millimeter. So that's the other thing that you want to think about when you're shooting, especially low light images like that. From Mike, what is different now with using a high ISO? When using film, you use a high number, be a lot of grain in it, but it seems that digital is not the case since you can shoot with a very high ISO numbers. Thanks, Mike. Well, you still do have grain, you still do have noise with a higher ISO, but the other thing you lose is contrast. You lose some color when you go with a higher ISO, no matter what camera it is. It's just the way digital works. So, my suggestion is shoot the higher ISO. Do your best. I actually have a video on it that I did about a year ago talking about high ISO, comparing one image with a lower ISO underexposed versus a normally exposed image at a higher ISO. And you could clearly see that the higher ISO image blew it out of the water. You got much better color versus trying to correct it and fix that image later on in post, which is definitely the wrong way to go. So, shoot your high ISO. There really hasn't anything that changed. Pay attention to your exposure, pay attention to your histogram, and get a good exposure, and you'll be fine. Your images will look good. You'll have the maximum amount of color, the maximum amount of everything. Really, nothing has changed there, except for just pay attention to your exposures to make sure they look good. Second part of Keep Shooting Mondays is our photo assignments. We're going to work on these for 2013. I'm going to give you a new one every single week, have 2 weeks to complete them, and then from the photos that are submitted to the forum, you can post them anywhere you want, Facebook, Twitter, whatever you want, but only the ones on the forum will be eligible to go into the videos. All right, I'm going to choose 2, 3, maybe 4 photos to be featured on the website, on the homepage of the website, as well as in the blog posts and in the video. So if you want them posted up there, they have to go into the forum. Signing up on the forum is completely free, and I'll put some other terms and things up on the website. But anyway, here's the deal. First photo assignment is to go out and shoot a foreground, middle ground, and background image. It could be a landscape, it could be a portrait, it could be anything. I'll actually put up a link to that video that I did on foreground, middle ground, background. If you need a refresher, you can go back and watch that video. If you don't know exactly what it is, it might be a good refresher. It's basically a great technique for either filmmaking or for videography or photography in order to really keep the viewer interested in the frame and what you want to portray, what you want to do, what you want to say with that particular image. Keep that person interested. So foreground, middle ground, background is our first photo assignment for Keep Shooting Mondays. Last part, I'm going to do my best to also feature a little bit of equipment or maybe talk about some kind of equipment, something along those lines. The first one I'm actually going to go over here. Someone asked me about my Honel portable light modifiers for my SB800, SB900, basically small studio flashes. It's a great little system. They are pretty inexpensive. You can get them either as individual pieces or you can get the whole kit like I have here. They have little soft boxes. They have grids. This is a reflector. There's all kinds of little parts and pieces in this system. I'll put a link from the video right over to the website where I can show you some photos that I've done with this, as well as where you can purchase these from Amazon. Pick what you need or get the whole system. Great modifiers. They're awesome. Very well made and nice and compact, which is also good. So Honel Photo, highly recommended for their light modifiers. So Keep Shooting Mondays. I'm going to like I said, do my best to get them up every single week, 2 weeks, and then we'll put up your photos. So next week's assignment, I'll again put that up, post them up on the forum. Make sure you put them in the right category on the forum. So just pay attention to all that stuff. I'll put it all in the blog post, any of the details that I might think of. But I think that's about it, and we'll see you next week for Keep Shooting Mondays. Thanks, guys. Greg Cazillo, Cazillo.com. Keep shooting. See you.